Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 15 of the Bible Together reading plan here at First Christian Church in Jefferson City, Missouri. This week we have been reading the book of Judges, and let's just say it is intense. As we've made our way through the book of Judges, I bet you have noticed that there are all kinds of interesting stories and characters. Deborah and Jael, Gideon, and of course the infamous Samson and Delilah. But you might also be noticing that there is a lot more that goes on in these stories than you probably remember from your childhood Sunday school classes. Some of these passages in Judges are hard to read. They are violent and chaotic. They're heartbreaking and frankly just deeply disturbing. And I think it's important to say that out loud, because if you find yourself uncomfortable this week, you're not reading it wrong. Judges is showing us what happens when a community loses its center and abandons its shared identity and its core values. Again and again throughout Judges, we meet leaders who are flawed in very human ways. Gideon begins in fear and ends by creating something dangerously close to an idol. Abimelech grasps for power through violence. Jephthah makes a reckless vow that destroys his very own family. Samson is gifted with incredible strength, but he seems unable to govern himself. And by the end of the book, things have fallen apart so completely that the final chapters are almost unbearable. Maybe you noticed the through line that underscores the entire story of Judges. There was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Now, I don't think by saying that Judges is arguing for authoritarianism or saying that people need a stronger human ruler to control them. I think it's asking a deeper question. What happens when people become untethered from God, from community, from wisdom, and from compassion? What happens when everyone makes themselves the center of their own universe? The answer certainly seems to be that everything starts falling apart. It's interesting that alongside this, we are also reading the end of Luke's Gospel, the Last Supper, the crucifixion, and the resurrection. Where the leaders in Judges grasp for power, Jesus lays his power down. Where people in Judges act out of fear, revenge, ego, and impulse, Jesus moves intentionally with mercy and purpose toward the cross. And then the book of Acts begins, and after all the chaos of Judges, Pentecost almost feels like an answer to the questions we were left with at the end of Judges. What would it look like for people to be led rightly again? Not by violence or ambition, not by one powerful person holding everything together, but by the Spirit of God alive within a community. At Pentecost, the Spirit is poured out on ordinary people, not just the leaders, not just the holy ones, but on the whole community. And suddenly the future of God's people is no longer built around domination and fear, but around shared life, shared power, shared witness, and shared hope. Now, obviously that doesn't mean that the church became perfect overnight. Acts makes it very clear pretty quickly, but it does mean that a new possibility entered the world. A people shaped not by everyone doing what was right in their own eyes, but a people who were learning to listen together for the movement of the Spirit within and among them. I think that's still the invitation for us now, to become people who are grounded in something deeper than fear. People who resist the pull toward chaos and cruelty and isolation. People who trust that the Spirit of God is still moving, not just in certain special individuals, but in communities like ours, as we become more and more willing to love, discern, serve, and grow together. And for that, I am truly grateful. See you next week. Have a good one.